When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the Grease Goblin YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Nada blog from George R.R. Martin. This was about a week ago as of me recording this. I did a little poll and you guys wanted to see me react to it. I will say there's not actually a ton to actually talk about, but there is something at the end that is a little bit of maybe foreshadowing to Winds of Winter, and George also does a little bit of talking about House of the Dragon, so we're going to go through all of that. And yeah. But if you would like to see more of this type of content, please do it. Help channel grow to people that might like this content as well. And let's get into the video. So, to start out this Not a Blog, you know, George is kind of just talking about some random stuff that we don't care about. We want the juicy stuff. We want the House of the Dragon, George R.R. Martin, you know, Winds of Winter updates. And let's get into House of the Dragon right away. So, he says, House of the Dragon has helped brighten my Sundays as well. I mean, I cannot really review the show. That would be crazy. I am hardly objective. And he kind of goes on to kind of congratulate Ryan Condal and Miguel Sapochnik. So, when this was created, it was right after Viserys' actual death. So, in last week's episode, not like this week's, like it wasn't like the episode 9, it was episode 8. He goes on to kind of say like how Patty did a really good job, deserves an Emmy, and all that. So, not a lot here so far, right? Just kind of giving congratulations to the show and all that. So, let's go down. He actually addresses the time jumps later on in the post. Again, as you can see, it's not a big one, right? We're going to talk about mainly this last line, but we're going to go through a little bit. So basically, very briefly, he kind of talks about the time jumps and how his thoughts have gone with that. And he thinks that Ryan has handled the jumps very well. And what I think he is correct on, I think the actresses for both the younger and older, Alicent and Rhaenyra, have done a very great job. I think both of them are incredible. Both have done very good acting. I think in one of the things I've talked about, I don't like Alicent's portrayal so far in episode 9 and 8. And that's not on the actress, that's on the writing crew, Ryan Condal and all that. And I don't like the direction of her character, but she has done a hell of a job acting. So I would say that she's done a fantastic job. The younger actresses did great. Rhaenyra hasn't had as much to do, I feel like, the older Rhaenyra, but she's still done really well when we've gotten to see that. And he does go on to say, you know, that he does wish we had more time to explore, you know, Rhaenyra and Sir Harwin, the marriage of Daemon and Laena, and their time in Pentos, and all of that. And also he goes on to confirm that, yes, the younger son, Daeron, is in Old Town, and we don't have time for him this season, which makes sense. He will be in next season. But yeah, so I'm actually very interested that he says that the time jumps were handled very well. I would disagree. I think a lot of the time jumps have actually hurt the show quite a bit. But, you know, I feel like if you're George R.R. Martin, you can't just straight up say publicly, yeah, they've handled this badly because it looks really bad on you because you're very directly involved in the show. But I will say, I think that's been a very big weakness of the first season. And when I do my season 1 review, which I'll probably be doing next week after the episode comes out, I am going to talk about that quite a lot because I think the time jumps really hurt this season. I think this season very much should have been longer, but I think they were scared to do that. And then he kind of talks about how the seasons have, you know, lost episodes. And it's something that I think George wished we still had, where there were more episodes per season, and now we've gotten all the way down to 10. And I understand that because I think if House of the Dragon had 13 episodes per season, I agree here. I think this is very correct, right? And this is exactly right here why I feel like this right here, this statement is exactly how I phrase House of the Dragon right now, where it feels like the directors are too scared to slow things down and continue to build those big moments, right? Because they've done so many time jumps and they've done so many things that they've skipped over, it's really hurt a lot of their big moments. Like we've talked about with last week, or like we talked about yesterday on stream, the Green Council felt really awkward and weird because of certain decisions they made in episode 8. And I feel like things are forced and crammed. And it's an interesting thing that I think George just addressed, that we should have probably had more episodes that could have helped deliver on some of our big payoffs. And he actually says, and we get a confirmation here, that it is going to take 4 full seasons of 10 episodes to do justice to the Dance of the Dragons from start to finish, with which I think makes a lot of sense. And I think why this makes a lot of sense is that they're going to slow down the actual story once we get into season 2, where season 1 felt very fast. Like, they really went through the story quite quickly to get to the actual dance. And like I've talked about, this season needed more episodes. I think it's very apparent to most viewers that that was needed, but I'm kind of okay with overlooking that if what they actually do give us in the next 3 seasons is really good. So we'll see how that goes. But if you guys have noticed, we did not get any talk of Winds of Winter or A Song of Ice and Fire until the very last sentence. And the last sentence says, but right now, Ryan Condal's focus is on House of the Dragon Season 2, and mine is on the Winds of Winter. And a lot of people have seen this as being a very positive light, that he is getting, more work done on Winds of Winter. And the fact that he ends it off. He doesn't begin. He's not really proud of Winds of Winter. Like, he doesn't flaunt that, oh yeah, I'm getting stuff done. We're getting closer. It's at the end. It's kind of pushed to the end, and it seems like that's how it's always been. Where Winds of Winter is kind of that second thought, where he's talking about so many other things. House of the Dragon. He's talking about NFL football stuff. Wheel of Time, Rings of Power. Other things are in here that we didn't even talk about. It does bother me that Winds of Winter always seems like a last priority, and it's just thrown in here so fans won't give him hate. This is what this feels like to me. A lot of people have been very positive that he puts that his priority is Winds of Winter, but he's said similar things for years now. Like, how do I look at this and go, wow, this is really exciting? Like, stuff like this does not excite me anymore, because I want to know, how many chapters do you have left? Are you almost done? Are you 2/3 of the way done, George? Give us an update of how far into the book you are. Because this is nothing. This could mean, oh, I'm getting done with chapter 20. Or he's working on finishing Tyrion's plot. We just don't know. And that is my big problem here, and why I just... seeing updates like this does bother me. Because this is how every one of his updates is. If we go back to any other updates of, like, Winds of Winter, right? If we see this update, nothing in here is about Winds of Winter. Nothing. This update had nothing to do with Winds of Winter. It was all about House of the Dragon and other things like that. If we go down to here, again, nothing about Winds of Winter. We go to Dragons Are Here. This is when House of the Dragon was coming out. Again, nothing about Winds of Winter. It's just, you look at where his focus is, and you can definitely tell he's not proud of Winds of Winter or Game of Thrones. I just went all the way down from his last updates from, when was this one from? August 15th. So that's 2 months ago. The only time Winds of Winter has been referenced is in this past article or blog, whatever, even though it says it's not a blog. And it's the very last thing he mentions. Does that give you guys positivity that he's excited that it's going to be done soon? Because he's not announcing it very much. He's not saying, oh, Winds of Winter are getting nearer and nearer to me. This is why I have I have a ton of doubts that it's going to come out within the next year. I think the best chance we get it would be 2 years from now, around Christmas 2024. That's the earliest I think we possibly see this book. Because if we were about a year out, right? Because I think it's going to be released during winter time, around Christmas would make the most sense. If he was around a year out from being done, we would have way more information than something like this. Like, we would know more about what's going on. He would be publicly talking about it much more, and he's just not. Which shows me he doesn't want people, remembering that this is even a thing. Or the only reason he puts this in here is because, again, hasn't said a single thing about it in 2 months. So he has to just throw it in here at the end to get people off his back. That's what that makes me feel like. So let me know what you guys think about this post as a whole. I know people have been positive in the community. I'm not positive with this. This didn't do anything to me that was positive. I'm glad that he clarified some things from House of the Dragon and kind of this whole section of it. But this isn't what we wanted, right? It's just not. And it just continues to me with frustration building towards George R. R. Martin when you come out with updates like this and this isn't your focus. Like, you've been working on this for what, 11 years now? This is just a statement that I don't trust anymore. I do not trust that your focus is on Winds of Winter. Because you never talk about it. You're never talking about it. You never like come on to one of these blogs and you're like, wow, it's really been tough writing like Sansa, for instance, and her dynamic with Littlefinger, and I finally have gotten to a conclusion or a good spot with how I like that plot in Winds of Winter. Something like that would fill me with much more hope than something like this. Because then I would know, okay, well, he's finished this plotline, which means he knows how it's going to connect to other plot lines, which means those he must have either done or he has a vision for how he wants them done. That, to me, would be an update I'd be happy about. This is not an update I'm happy about. So let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys all in the next video. And bye, guys.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.